In June 2026, SpaceX went public with a valuation of $1.7 trillion, instantly making it the seventh most valuable company in the world. But even this enormous valuation is small compared to what this company can achieve. Most people think SpaceX is just a rocket company that launches satellites, sends astronauts into orbit, and dreams about reaching Mars. But that's not what SpaceX is becoming. Rockets were never the final product. They were just the foundation for something much bigger. Through Starlink, it's reshaping global communications and challenging traditional telecom networks. It's also becoming increasingly important in military and national security systems. And now, it's pushing even further. Computing in space. To understand the value of this company, first we need to understand the biggest constraint about space access: the cost. For decades, rockets were fully expendable. Every launch meant throwing away the most expensive part of the vehicle, the first stage booster. It would fall into the ocean and be lost forever. That meant each mission required rebuilding almost the entire rocket from scratch, keeping costs extremely high and launch rates limited. Then SpaceX made the breakthrough: reusability with the Falcon 9. Instead of being destroyed, the first stage now returns to Earth, lands vertically, and is flown again. The first stage accounts for roughly 60 to 70% of the rocket's hardware cost. By reusing it multiple times, SpaceX spreads that cost across dozens of flights. Instead of spending tens of millions of dollars per launch on a new booster, the company only pays a few million in refurbishment and operations. That means each reused launch can save around $20 to $30 million compared to an expendable system. As launch costs continue to drop, more companies can afford to build and launch satellites. More governments can fund missions, and smaller startups can now develop businesses that simply weren't economically viable before. Those cost improvements allowed SpaceX to unlock an entirely new business: Starlink. Today, internet access depends on cell towers, fiber networks, undersea cables, and national infrastructure controlled by each country. Starlink removes most of that physical dependency. Instead of building infrastructure on Earth, it builds a network in orbit, thousands of satellites acting as a mesh that delivers internet directly to users anywhere on the planet where fiber is too expensive or even impossible. But the real breakthrough is not coverage, it's economics. Traditional telecom networks grow in a linear way. The more users it gets, the more equipment and capacity it needs. Starlink scales differently. Once its satellite network is in orbit, connecting additional users requires very little new physical infrastructure compared to traditional systems. That gives SpaceX a business that can expand globally without rebuilding a network in every new market. But there's one problem. To keep expanding that network, SpaceX needs to launch thousands more satellites into orbit. That's where SpaceX's most ambitious project comes in: Starship. Designed to carry more than 100 tons of cargo to orbit, around 5 times the payload of Falcon 9, Starship has the potential to dramatically reduce launch costs while accelerating the expansion of the entire Starlink network. But Starship isn't just a bigger rocket. It's designed to be the first launch system where both the booster and the spacecraft are fully reusable. Falcon 9 already recovers its first stage, but the second stage is still discarded after every mission. Starship aims to eliminate that waste entirely, allowing almost the entire vehicle to be flown again. And that's why its importance extends far beyond Starlink. If moving hundreds of tons into orbit becomes dramatically cheaper, every company that wants to build something in space could depend on transportation provided by SpaceX. That possibility is a major reason many analysts view Starship as one of the company's most important long-term assets. If that vision becomes reality, then SpaceX can try and achieve the most futuristic project of them all. Right now, every signal from Starlink still has to travel back to Earth, where massive data centers handle all the computing, storage, and routing. That introduces latency, bandwidth limits, and constraints on Earth-based infrastructure, creating a bottleneck for growth. So, if the network already exists in orbit, why should all the computing still happen on Earth? That's the next problem SpaceX is aiming to solve. They want to turn parts of that network into in-orbit compute nodes, essentially distributed data centers in space. The logic is simple. If you already have thousands of satellites in low Earth orbit, with constant power from solar panels and direct line-of-sight communication, you also have the ingredients for advanced computing on a planetary scale. Instead of sending every signal down to Earth's data centers like we do today, some processing could happen in orbit. If Starlink is a subscription internet layer, then orbital compute is a premium upgrade on top of it. That means SpaceX is no longer just selling launches or connectivity. And this is why investors don't just price SpaceX as an aerospace company anymore. They price it as a future infrastructure monopoly in space, where every improvement in launch efficiency expands not just rockets, but the entire revenue ecosystem built above them. Of course, none of this is guaranteed. SpaceX still faces major risks. Building infrastructure at planetary scale is extremely hard. Many companies have tried and failed to dominate emerging frontiers. So, the upside is massive, but not certain. If SpaceX continues to execute successfully, it stops being just another rocket company. It becomes something much larger. A company that doesn't just operate in markets, but helps define and shape the next one. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments how I can improve. Until the next show of power, thanks for watching.